So let's continue. Part 2, still at chapter 11. Need to wash my hair. Need to find the time to do my hair this week. Alright, so we had just stopped at I believe he's ready to hear. So let's continue. She went away about 7 and soon after we retired. We went to bed early because we got up early. And the longer you could stay asleep, the shorter were the days. We would drag our twins into the attic as soon as the hour of 10 passed. Exploring the giant attic was one of the best ways to occupy our time. There were two pianos up there, upright. Corey climbed on a round seat that twirled higher or lower, and round he spun. He banged on the yellow piano keys, cocked his head, and listened attentively. It was out of tune, and the noise he made was so discordant, it made our head ache. "Don't sound right," he said. "Why don't it sound right?" "It needs tuning," said Chris, who tried to tune it. But when he did, the wires broke. That was the end of trying to make music on two old pianos. There were five Victrolas, each with a small white dog that cocked its head charmingly, as if enchanted to hear the music. But only one of these machines worked well. We'd wind up the one, but on a warped old record, and listen to the weirdest music we've ever heard. There were stacks and stacks of Enrico Caruso records, but unfortunately they were not well cared for. Just stacked on the floor, not even put in cardboard cartons. We sat in a semicircle to listen to him sing. Christopher and I knew he was the greatest of all male singers, and now was our chance to hear him. His voice was so high-pitched it sounded false, and we wondered what had been so great about him. But for some crazy reason, Corey loved it. Then slowly, the machine would wind down and would spin Caruso's voice into only a whine. And then when one of us would race like mad to crack the handle so tight he'd sing fast and funny so he sounded like Donald Duck talking gibber to junk. And the twins would break up in laughter. Naturally, it was their kind of talk, their secret language. Corey would spend all of his days in the attic, playing the records, but Carrie was a restless prowler, ever discontented, an incessant seeker of something better to do. "I don't like this big bad place," she wailed for the zillionth time. "Take me out of this bad place. Take me out of this. Take me out now, this minute. You take me out or I'm gonna kick down the walls. I will. I can. Where did we reach? This is what happens when I'm reading on my... Oh, right here, my glasses. She ran to the walls to attack with small feet and failing little fists that she managed to bruise severely before she gave up. I felt sorry for her and for Corey. All of us would have liked to kick down the walls and escape. With Carrie, though, it was more likely the walls would tumble down just from the crescendo, trumpet, or her powerful voice, like the walls of Jericho tumbling down. Indeed, it was a relief when Carrie braved the dangers of the attic and found her own way to the stairway and to the bedroom below, where she could play with her dolls and her teacups, and her tiny stove, and her little ironing board with the iron that didn't heat up. For the first time, Corey and Carrie could spend a few hours separated from each other, and Chris said it was a good thing. Up in the attic was the music which charmed Corey while Carrie would chatter onto her things. Taking many baths were another way to use excessive time, and shampooing hair made it last longer. Oh, we were the cleanest children alive. We napped after lunch, which lasted as long as we could stretch it. Chris and I made a contest of peeling apples to the skin, so the skin came off in one long spiraling cord. We peeled oranges and took off every bit of white string that the twins detested. We had little boxes of cheese crackers that we counted to divide equally into 4 portions. Our most dangerous and amusing game was to mimic the grandmother. Ever fearful, she'd walk in and catch us draped with some filthy grey sheet from the attic to represent her grey taffeta uniform. Chris and I were the best at this. The twins were too afraid of her to even lift their eyes when she was in the room. "Children!" snapped Chris while he stood by the door, holding an invisible picnic basket. "Have you been decent, honorable, proper?" So they're mimicking the grandmother. Chris dress up like the grandmother, and he's mimicking the grandmother. "This room looks a terrible mess. Girl, you over there. Smooth out that rumpled pillow before I crush your head in and with the mere glare of my eyes." "Mercy, grandmother," I cried, falling down on my knees and crawling to her with my hands folded under my chin. I was dead tired from scrubbing down all the walls in the attic. I had to rest. "Rest?" snapped the grandmother at the door, her dress about to fall off. "There is no rest for the evil, the corrupt, the unholy, and the unworldly. There is only work until you are dead and hung forever over hell's eternal roasting fires." Then he lifted his arms beneath the sheet in some horrible gestures that made the twins shriek from fright, and in a witch's way, the grandmother disappeared, and only Chris was left grinning at us. So see them there dressing up like the grandmother and mimicking her. The first weeks were like seconds turned into hours, despite all we did to entertain ourselves. And we managed to do quite a lot. It was the doubts and the fears, the hopes and the expectations that kept us in suspense, waiting. And we were no closer to being let out and taken downstairs. Now the twins ran to me with their small cuts and bruises and the splinters garnered from the rotten wood in the attic. I carefully plucked them out with tweezers. Chris would apply the antiseptic and the adhesive plaster they both loved. An injured small finger was enough to reason to demand cuddly baby things and lullabies sung as I tucked them into bed and kissed their faces and tickled where laughter had to be freed. Their thin little arms wrapped tightly around my neck. I was loved, very loved and needed. So we pause right there. When we come back, we will pick up from there. So folks, thank you very much. You all have a blessed week ahead. Today is Sunday. So you all have a blessed week ahead, and I'll be back in the week. So because I want to finish this book, and I think it's been dragged out a while. But anyhow, when you're busy and have so many things to do, sometimes that's what happens. So you all have a blessed week. I'm gonna put some curtains up, put up some drapes, and get some stuff done. So folks, remember to like. Please like. I see I have quite a few views, but I don't see anybody liking. Please remember to like. Please remember to share. Please remember to comment. Right? Remember my channel is Karen Vibes. That's KrenVibes with an exclamation sign on YouTube. So you can always go on and follow my reading. Folks, so thank you so much and peace out. So see you in the week.